Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. We've bellied up to the bar here on, it's the day after tax day. So for those of you that have survived tax day, did not run off to Mexico and or Canada, and you've welcomed us all back, and maybe you're still drinking from then. So make sure you raise a glass for tax day is done with, and we've all survived it in one way or another. But to make sure, in case you didn't, we've brought, and see, I'm going to go with this one because I think he looks just like him. If you're a wrestling fan, we brought Rob Van Dam's twin brother. Do you even know who that is? Do you know Rob Van Dam? You look just like his twin brother. So joining us all the way from Costa Rica, it's to talk about how to handle some stress, how to deal with the stresses of a corporate life. It's Mr. Mike Messeroff. Yay, Mike. My sound effects are not working very well anymore. So we're just going to go with that. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, Sean. So nice to be here. Nice to be at the bar for sure. I spent years behind the bar. It's nice to be on this.
Were you a bartender?
8 years all over the world.
Really? Here, I'll tell you a funny story before we get into this. At one point in time, I almost moved to Ibiza, Spain, just to be a bartender because I was in the Marine Corps. And a bartender said to me once, with my accent, the women would love me. And I was like, yeah, because it's nothing but English, Irish, and Scottish and some French over there that go to that island. And I was like, sounds good to me. I was like 21, 22 years old. I was like, none of this sounds like a bad plan at this point.
Well, you could look back and you could see where your life would have changed paths, maybe.
Brother, I'd have been an entirely different. There is no doubt about it. I fixed my microphone. My microphone sounded like crap for a minute. I couldn't figure out what's going on. So we're going to be talking with Mike here, folks. We're going to be talking about dealing with the stresses of corporate life. How do we get through that? How do we use those same skills for our day-to-day life? Because if you look at how things are today, folks, most of us run our day-to-day lives almost like a corporate life. So he's going to talk to us about how can we deal with those things, how we can get better at it. But before we do all that, over my right shoulder, that's the big board for Sticker and a Cause. You got something you believe in, something you're supporting. Maybe you have your own podcast, a band. It doesn't matter what it is. You can reach out to us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, X, Instagram, TikTok. Our website is theabovethebarpodcast.com. Our email is theabovethebarpodcast@gmail.com. Reach out. Let us know what you got going on. Let us know what you got happening. I'll tell you where to mail the sticker to. We'll read about you live on the air. Just like you grow that way, we grow that way. That's how this community always gets bigger. Everybody likes to sit at a crowded bar. Nobody wants to sit at the end of the bar by themselves. So make sure you're reaching out and let us know what you got going on. Also, we got to talk about our sponsors, the folks that pay the bills around here. And that's Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson and Coxsackie and Schoharie, North America's largest window treatment company, dealing with anything from blinds, shades, shutters, drapery. They do tint, you name it, they can take care of it. And it's all customized to your home. And if you're in the capital region right now, dealing with the Hudson, Coxsackie, Schoharie, East Greenbush area, they are running a sale this month, 25% off of all drapery. And remember, folks, always if you tell them you're there to belly up to the bar, they're going to give you another 5% off of that. So make sure you're reaching out to Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson and Coxsackie and Schoharie, North America's largest custom window treatment company. All right, Mike, it's all done. All right.
Beautiful.
So we're ready to talk about it. So let me make sure I've got your where'd your bio go? Where'd your bio go? How did I lose your bio? All right. So I lost Mike's bio. I love my technology. I'm really good at this sometimes. So let's make sure. 8 years as a bartender around the world. Worked for JetBlue.
For a decade.
I was going to ask you about this. Now, what did you do with JetBlue? Because I know that was your big corporate environment.
Yeah.
Were you like an executive with them, or what were you doing with them?
I was their very first intern. I was actually still in college when I started with JetBlue. I worked throughout my whole 20s, and I ended as the manager of business development.
So then you were in the sales side to it also.
Marketing and sales, yeah.
Marketing and sales. So that's high stress. People can't understand how high stress that really is. So you're doing that, and then you decide to be like, I'm curious, married, kids, anything?
No kids, dog, and married
Okay.
for 16 years.
All right. So were you married when you were at JetBlue?
I was for most of it. Half of
Right.
it, I guess.
Because I was curious, like, what was that I'm always curious about people's lives when they make like these drastic changes and they have to tell their significant other, like, hey, I know I had this job that I was making 6 figures and we could travel around the world and do anything we want, but I'm thinking bartender. Like bartender would be great for me. What was that conversation like?
I'm one of the lucky ones. My wife's always been kind of one of the biggest reasons for my personal growth and just trying new things in my life. Yeah, I would say she was the biggest catalyst for that change, actually. So she
Really?
brought it up. Basically, I spent my whole 20s at JetBlue, and for the last 5 years of that, I knew that there was something off. The best part of my day was my walk at lunch, and that to me was a problem. Every day I would look forward to that one break at lunch to go walk. I'd found a park near my office in Queens, and it was. I always knew it wasn't for me to kind of sit in an office 9 to 5 all day. But I was paid well. I was treated well. I had great perks. It was an airline. I had free car rentals, free cruises, free flights. I mean, it was wild. So it was really hard to leave that, plus the salary and the security and the 401k, all those golden handcuffs things that we all know about. But my wife worked for Time Inc. in publishing.
Okay.
And she basically had her third promotion that was promised to her that she earned. And they told her for the third time in a row, there was no budget for it. Even though you earned it, we can't give you that promotion. And that day she came home and she said, do you want to quit our jobs and sell all our shit and move to the Caribbean? And I really actually had to think about it for like 10 minutes. And I was like, yeah, I'm in. Let's go.
Dude, you're winning. I mean, you're winning at that point. And like you said, no kids at that point, why not? I mean,
Yeah.
did either one of you speak Spanish at that point?
No, we moved to the US Virgin Islands first.
Okay.
I mean, we're in Costa Rica now, and I still don't speak Spanish, but it's a slow process.
And you're still making it happen.
That's right. That's right.
Now, but now you just said it. You were a bartender. Now, was that like the first place? Like, hey, you just showed up there and like, I can pour a pretty mean beer. Like,
So
did you have any experience as a bartender, mixologist, anything?
no, well, it's a kind of a funny story how I got into bartending. When I knew I was quitting JetBlue, I knew I needed a skill that I could take with me. I had no idea I was going to be a coach. That wasn't on my radar. So I always wanted to bartend. I had always worked in restaurants as a kid, as a teenager. And I had a good friend who owned 2 dive bars in Manhattan. And I said, Kyle, I need to learn how to bartend. He goes, oh, no problem. You could have Mondays at Billy Hurricanes. Billy Hurricanes was the dive bar in the Lower East Side. And I said, no, I don't think you understand. I have no idea how to bartend. He goes, nah, you're fine. Monday nights.
So don't worry about it. You got this. You're good.
I show up for one training shift, and it's a dive bar. I learned how to open beers and pour shots and make mixed drinks. It wasn't that hard. And the cool thing is I was able to kind of parlay that into a real bartending job, or I should say that was a real bartending job, but it wasn't. I wasn't making martinis and daiquiris and things like that. Okay. So I get down to the Virgin Islands and I meet this girl who's running a restaurant. At the time, it was her parents' seafood restaurants. Now she runs it. She owns it. But she said, I'm looking for a bartender. And I said, oh, I've bartended in Manhattan. And she said,
that sounded absolutely amazing to her, didn't it?
And she's like, oh, you're in. You're hired. My first night on the job, I'm at the service bar in the back, and we get all these tickets coming in. First ticket is a martini. Little old waitress, Greba, red hair. I go, Greba, come over here. She's like, yeah, what's up? I go, how do you make a martini? She says, how did you get this job? And I said, don't worry. I'm a quick learner. Just tell me once. I'll never ask again. And she told me how to make a martini. I knew she used to be a bartender herself. And that's really where I learned, martinis, Manhattans, old fashions, daiquiris, pina coladas. That's where I learned how to make cocktails.
Oh, that's hilarious. Because
Yeah,
she didn't need the rest of the resume. It was just you gave her the wave top to it, and you're like, yeah, no, Manhattan. Didn't tell you
that's it.
where in Manhattan. Didn't tell you it was a bar down an alley. I serve I served Mad Dog 2020 everybody. That was
We
like all
might
I
have had a
needed.
Mad Dog 2020 night.
That could listen. You know that the MD does not stand for Mad Dog?
It's been a while since I've seen a bottle or drank any of that. What
Yeah,
is it? What
it's
is?
it's actually like Martin Davis or Matthew. It's actually like two names. Like the MD is actually like two names. All my life I really thought MD stood for Mad Dog.
Yeah, of
Like I thought it
course.
was like a really cool, like kitschy, like way to advertise it. Like, oh, this is cool, Mad Dog, drink that. Not, But we used to always say where I grew up in Baltimore, in the area I grew up, Dundalk. We used to always say you could tell a good wine by the crack of the cap.
uh,
You always knew you had the good stuff at that point. So
Gotta let it breathe.
you're traveling around doing this for 8 years or doing this, going around 8 years. But at what point do you kind of start to slow down and be like, okay, maybe we need to settle, and I've got this idea for personal freedom coach. When does one kind of transform into the other?
Yeah, that's it wasn't quite like that. Our travels brought us to the Virgin Islands for a year, heaven on earth. From there, we went to Australia for a year, traveled the whole country, bartended all over that
Oh,
country,
really?
bartended in New Zealand for 5 months, and traveled that whole country. And then we did some stops in Fiji and Indonesia and Hawaii. And then we came to Breckenridge, Colorado, which is where, before moving to Costa Rica, I lived for I guess 8 years. Even we still have a place. My wife spends more time there than I do. I'm almost here full time in Costa Rica, but we go to Breckenridge for a ski season. Of course, that turns into we never left. It was a beautiful place. If you've never been, it's one of the most picturesque ski towns. Beautiful main street, beautiful mountain, just a great vibe. But that is where, about 3 years in, my bartending job kind of turned into bar manager job. I had a bunch of keys. I had a bunch of responsibility. I was the first one there. I was the last one to leave. It started feeling a little bit like a corporate job again. And I got that feeling of like, not only that similar feeling of, my best time of day was my walk at lunch in corporate. This was, I would say that was like a gentle shake from the universe.
Mm.
At this point, 3 years into Breckenridge, I was getting grabbed by the shoulders and really shook. I was experiencing major depression. I had panic attacks for the first time in my life. I was
Oh, wow.
self-medicating, as most bartenders know. It's like you have an arsenal, and shot of JMO is arm's length away. And I would have to walk into the bar and go straight to the bathroom and splash water on my face, and my heart would start racing. I was like, what
Wow.
is happening? Why is this going on? Because it was like a visceral experience that I've already done what I thought most people wanted to do, like quit the corporate grind, travel the world. We saw the most beautiful sights, sunrises, amazing night skies and stars and just waterfalls. And it was amazing, but it wasn't the thing. It
Right.
wasn't the thing. And there I was in Breckenridge, Colorado, with my wife, my dog. My best friend is the GM at this restaurant. I'm working at one of the best restaurants in town, this amazing steakhouse. I'm skiing 100 days a season. Like every day I'm on that mountain, and I'm fucking miserable. And it was just like a wake-up call that something's missing, and it's not out there. It's not in the next trip. It's not skiing every day. It's not in a beach. Everyone thinks I just want to sip cocktails on a beach. Doesn't that sound great? I did that, and it's fun. It's just not sustainable.
Right. The Jimmy Buffett song doesn't go every day.
Well, for my life, it kind of does. I mean, now that is how I live, but it's with something that I didn't have then.
What's that?
Inner peace. um, a sense of self, a sense of connectedness to the present moment and to life. I was searching for everything outside of me. I was searching for joy. I was searching for success outside of me. And then I learned through that basically hard earned wisdom that that's not where it is. And that sent me on a journey. Luckily, I had a therapist who was into mindfulness. In Breckenridge, I almost lost my relationship with my wife. I was an asshole. I was not fun to be around. I was definitely not fun to be. It wasn't fun to be me. And I went to therapy, and she was into mindfulness. And I think I'm getting a cocktail delivered. Thank you.
Oh, look at that.
Cheers, friend.
Is that your bride right there?
She just left, but yes,
I
I
was gonna
texted
say,
her. Very important.
if she wanted to wave on the camera, we were gonna say, she could wave, but she ran away. That's a pretty good goblet you got there of red wine.
Yeah,
Merlot? Do we go with Merlot?
Oh, it's a Carmenere, actually, from Chile, which is pretty popular here in Costa Rica.
Okay. I don't know what red to me is Merlot.
Salud. It's either rum, gin, or red wine. So now I have wine.
The best rum I ever had was it was a Tortuga.
Oh yeah, is that Dominican Republic or is
I don't know what it is. I just know it's really good. Tortuga rum is like ridiculous.
Nice.
But so you're going through all this. Things have really hit the fan for you. You're realizing what's going on. Again, like based on your last conversation, I imagine this next one with your wife of we got to go. I'm done with this. She was pretty receptive to it.
Yeah. I mean, throughout our relationship, we've always lifted each other up when one person needs. Awesome. I think that's a great relationship. We have a unique relationship too, which I'm happy to talk about. But
we're going to talk about that.
She's always been there. She's always been there for me and supported me. I actually didn't jump right to being a miserable prick bartender to coaching high impact CEOs and corporate leaders. There was some middle ground there, several years of just my own personal development and inhaling and ingesting books and courses and having my own coaches. I started a book club in Summit County, Colorado, and it grew to hundreds of people. We would read a new book a month from, some of the ones behind me, Power of Now, The Four Agreements, like really powerful books. And then it was interesting. I learned about the concept of manifesting, of using the law of attraction to your benefit. And I knew that I could quit bartending if I had $20,000. I had no idea where it was coming from, but I was just learning about manifesting. And I said, all right, I have a clear goal. I know exactly why I want it. It wasn't to swim around in a pile of money. It was for freedom. It would allow me to move into whatever was next for me. So I kept putting that out into the universe. And someone who I knew for years came to my bar, and I had a little hobby business at the time. I was promoting local events and running pub crawls in Breckenridge. And she said, I think we could turn this into a real business. And I told her, I said, interesting, you should come to me. It was like maybe Christmas week 2017, roughly. And she said, and I said, because I have this goal of 20K and I'm trying to leave bartending. And she goes, I'll get you a check for $20,000 in 3 months if you want to work together. And I shit you not, by that March, we had a business. It was doing great. I had a check for $20,000. And that's when I left bartending. I went from 4 shifts to 3 to 2. And then a few months later, I just left. It was my last shift ever. And that was it. Yeah. And then what's interesting about that, then I had this business that I thought I always wanted. I was always an entrepreneur. I was always trying to start businesses. And I had it. And I left it within a year because I knew too much. I knew how to trust my instincts. I knew how to use my emotions as the guides that they actually are. And it was telling me, you've moved on from this. You're ready for something else. Even though you thought this was the thing that you wanted, there's something else. And that also presented itself to me because people were just asking me, like, what are you doing? You're a different person. You used to be kind of a prick, and now you're really happy and you seem like you enjoy your life. And I said, if you really want to know, I'm happy to tell you. Let's go meet up at the coffee shop. Let's go talk. and a half-hour chat would turn into 2 hours every time. And they would leave feeling amazing. I would leave feeling amazing. And I was just saying, what's happening here? I didn't set out to be a coach. It was presented to me that I could help change people's lives, and it feels really good, and it's fun, and it's talking about all the things that changed my life, like how I learned that you can't try to change anything in your external environment to make yourself happy. You can't try to change people. You can't try to even move somewhere, travel, vacation. That's not where it comes from. There's an inward journey that you have to go on. And that's just, I fell in love with just learning about that and talking about that. And that evolved into working with CEOs and just high level leaders, predominantly in the hospitality industry, because that's kind of what I know. Those are the people that I relate with.
That's amazing. And look, folks, if you're just joining us or just tuning in, we're talking, and Mike, I'm going to butcher your last name because that's what I do. Mike Messeroff. Did I get it right?
That's great.
Listen, good enough for government work. And Mike and I are talking about his journey to becoming a personal freedom coach, writer. We're going to talk about, we're going to get into your relationship side because I think people will find that very interesting. We're going to get into all these different things. But if you want to know what Mike is doing, what he's got happening, you can also check his website, self-hospitality.com. If you take a look on there, you can find out about a little bit about his journey, about his everything he's got going on. You got some what would these be, like some testimonials on here, a little bit of everything.
The main thing is I just want to give value. I just want to share what's helped me. And that link is for a 30-minute masterclass that just talks about easy, simple ways to bring more peace and presence and joy into your life. And it's not hard. I think, specifically meditation gets a bad rap. Like you need to sit cross-legged or go to, move to a cave. And part of my life's work is to help people realize that it's not crazy to meditate. It's crazy not to. We have one mind that we experience our entire life with, and we don't take 3-5 minutes a day looking after it, cleaning off the lens, making sure that we're seeing things with a fresh perspective, because as humans, we tend to pick up a lot of programming from our childhood, programming from all of our experiences. And there's a lot of noise out there in the world, and there's a lot of noise in between these ears, and it's usually really negative. So if you don't develop and cultivate a break from that, just a little bit of a break from all the noise out there and all the noise in your head, life gets to be a little chaotic, especially nowadays.
Now, talking about the meditation for a minute, and we're going to get into the cost of this class, folks. It's very expensive. Like, I don't know how many of you are going to be able to afford this 30-minute master class. I mean, I'm looking at it on his website right now. The sheer expense that every one of us have in our empty pockets. It's free, folks. I'm joking. I'm just being a dick for a minute, but going back to the meditation for a sec. So I believe in meditation. I believe that every religion, whether you're a faithful person or not, teaches meditation in its own way. It has a different name. If you're a Christian like myself, we call it prayer. Prayer is meditation. It's the same exact idea that if you were a Buddhist or you were doing Gregorian chants or whatever it is, they're all forms of meditation. Now, for you, though, I'm always curious when folks are really into it. Have you created, and if you didn't figure it out, I'm a Brendan Bouchard fan. He has the release meditation. Do you have anything for you that you've created where you're like, hey, this is my thing that like people really get into?
No, and I think I'm really open and vocal that the Headspace app changed my life. And
Okay.
my one-on-one clients who invested a decent amount to work with me for 10 weeks, they all use Headspace. I don't try to reinvent the wheel. I don't pretend like I'm a cutting edge meditation teacher. I'm a personal freedom coach, and meditation is just one aspect of it. So I love guiding meditations. I do love leading meditations, but there are experts out there who are good at teaching beginners how to meditate. So that's typically what I recommend. Use the Headspace app.
I mean, I know the app you're talking about, and it's because is that a free app or do you have to pay for the app? I know the app.
I know they give, I think it's 10 days free, which is more than enough to get a feel for meditation and to actually feel a change in your life. I think it's 60 or 70 a year or something like that. It's well worth it. It's meditation is the one thing that changed my life completely, like the game changer in my life. And it happened really quickly. I went from being in the darkest, lowest point of my life to feeling like I was climbing out of that hole in a couple of days of meditation.
Just looking back at yourself and seeing what you have to offer to you.
It was even different than that. It was it was getting a different perspective on my thoughts. I think for 35 years, I thought that I was my thoughts. I thought that thoughts were real. I thought that thoughts were important. And then I started meditating, and it's almost like I gained this different perspective where I was looking down on myself or looking down on my thoughts, and I was able to choose. It's like, okay, I don't need to follow all of these thoughts. I don't need to think each thought through to completion. I get to choose. And then it's like, well, who's the I and what is the thought? And that gets deeper into spirituality and, true self versus ego and subconscious versus conscious mind, but which is all things that I love talking about and coaching people on. But ultimately it's impossible to know who you are if you never spend any time with yourself without all that noise, without everyone else telling you who you are. So it's the beginning of just kind of self-knowledge and self-awareness. That's also, there's so many. I mean, that's just one of the benefits of meditation.
See, I love the tone here. And again, folks, we're talking with Mike Messeroff. If you want to know what Mike's got going on, check out self-hospitality.com. You have access to him. You can get into his masterclass, see what's happening with that. Going into, reaching out, to some of these CEOs, because I mean, look, I'm gonna give the resume as I know it. 10 years in the corporate world. Now we're, the local bartender done good, who now is, booking gigs and moving back. How do you network and start approaching these folks to start saying, hey, look, I know you're looking at me, how can I help you? I'm not suit and tie like you are. How do you start approaching those folks to start?
What do you mean? This is dressing up.
The picture you sent me, the picture on your website, I'm going to ask you next, how many of those black tank tops do you have? Because you are the black tank top guy from now on. But I mean,
sometimes there's a flamingo. Sometimes
there is a flamingo every so often.
No, it's a good question. I didn't go straight from starting coaching to working with CEOs either. That was a progression, and it was mostly a progression of myself, of just realizing that I have a program that works. It just works. Like if it's the right person and they're ready for it, which usually means they're fed up. They've tried other methods. They're at their rock bottom, and they're looking to really make a transformation. They're looking to really commit to some major change. Again, using the law of intention and being really clear about what you want, I was just thinking about, like, how can I have the most impact? Because I know that this coaching works, and it just came back to me. The answer was work with people who have impact. Work with people who, if you help their lives, it's going to have a ripple effect throughout many other lives. And so I said, okay, I want to work with high impact leaders. Within 2 days, I met my first CEO client on a monkey boat tour in Costa Rica. And
what's a monkey boat tour?
So amazing experience. I don't even know these things existed. I'm not sure if it's legal, but my wife found it. You always find the cool things through locals, and one of the locals told her about it, and it was for my birthday. And then we postponed. She was actually sick. This is also where you start to realize, like, there are no mistakes in the universe. And sometimes when things get canceled or postponed, or you're sitting in traffic, that's exactly how it's supposed to be.
Amen.
It's just an easier way to go through life. And then when things start actually proving that to you, it's just more fun to go through life that way. So we go to this monkey boat, and it's this like narrow, long flat bottom boat that's taking us out into the mangroves of Costa Rica. And it's about half full. My wife is behind me diagonally, and right next to me, there's a gentleman who's kind of just sitting there on his phone. And I realize that he's there with his wife and his kid, maybe I think his daughter, and then his friend was in the back as well. And so you get on this boat, and it takes you into the mangroves, and the tour guide goes to the front of the boat and just basically just goes like, nga, nga, nga. And all these monkeys come out of the trees onto the boat, And he's handing out limes, half a lime. They love limes. And they're crawling all over us, taking our limes, licking it, washing themselves with it.
Oh, really?
Wild experience. And during that exact time is I look over, and this dude is still on his phone, and he's got like the double wide fold out.
Oh, I know the one you're talking about. Yeah, yeah.
And he's just head down on his phone with monkeys crawling all over him and his daughter. And the monkeys go back, and the guide is like, all right, now we're going to start the 45-minute mangrove tour, or whatever it was, hour long. And I don't know what came over me, but something did. And I don't know if I tapped him or I said, hey, excuse me. And he looks at me, and I go, I bet you can't put down that phone for the rest of this trip. And I had no idea if he was going to knock me out, throw me off this boat. I don't know this guy at all.
Right.
He looks at me, and he's like, you're on. Shuts his phone, puts it away, stays away for the whole trip. We go back to the dock. We get off the boat. I introduce myself. I say, here's what I do, and he goes, yeah, there's no mistakes, no coincidences. I found out later he's suicidal. He runs a company. He took it over recently. He took on a lot of debt. He had a lot of kind of just depression issues and some trauma with his family that he was dealing with. And you never know, you just never know. And after the work that we did together, he's a different person. He's been my biggest advocate. He's helped me introduce me to his whole network and really just get involved in the industry. All because, I took a little bit of a risk on a monkey boat and said what was on my heart. Like, how could you be on your phone right now? What could be more important than this? This is what life is.
Dude, that's like I don't get speechless often, but wow. That's wild.
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't even know what to say other than, again, folks, we got Mike Messeroff on. If you got questions, those of you that are watching us, maybe you've got a situation you're trying to figure out, hey, how can I start to relieve this stress, or even figuring out, like you said, you can log into the app to start meditating, things of that nature. But if you got questions for Mike, drop them in the comment section. We'll be happy to answer those. For those of you that are out on Instagram, do the same thing. You just doesn't show up here. It shows up over there. So you're going through this and you're meeting these folks. I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to ask a question that kind of just comes to mind here. Mike, it sounds like everything you touch at some point becomes successful. And I do believe in the manifestation. Again, I'm a very Christian-based person. I'm a Methodist. So I feel like when I pray and when I talk to God and I have those conversations, it's not like, God, can you give me $1? It's not that. It's being thankful for what I have and being appreciative and returning that back in what I do. But for you, everything you've touched has turned to success, and everything has also at some point become an animal that owns your space. Do you ever get concerned with that now that you're doing this coaching element?
In terms of what, being in a box or what?
Well, I mean, so you're, the best part of your day when you worked for JetBlue was the walk, becoming a bartender and realizing the self-medication.
Yeah.
Owning, the other business, doing the booking side of things. Now that's, I don't want to do this anymore. Do you ever get concerned now that you're in this space that this one will have the same effect, and now you're going to have to move on to something else?
Well, I think that's a great question, because it brings up such a flawed premise that we're all under the belief of from our society, which is, well, it goes back to the myth of retirement. Retirement is a myth. Retirement is just,
thank you.
It's just a belief that a lot of people latch onto, but it's just a belief. So no,
Dude,
I have no worries about that at all,
you get
because once you have a sense of who you are and deep purpose, you know, and my purpose is to be a messenger of mindfulness and awakening and personal freedom, like to help people break free. And it's not breaking free from corporate, it's breaking free from the prison of their mind and from the programming of their past. And once you know that, like, I could do anything, and I am, and it's not always successful. I try things and fail all the time. And the thing is that I love what I do, and I love working. That's the difference. But I know that whether it's coaching clients, running a membership community, which is the next thing I'm building right now, writing a novel, which I'm also doing right now. I wrote this book of poetry up there. You know, whatever it is, it's all the same thing. It's just now I get to play with, how am I expressing myself to the world? Is it through poetry? Is it through a novel? Is it through coaching? Is it through speaking and keynotes or workshops? Is it through one-on-one clients? Like, it's all me. I just get to be me and share that with the world. And that's liberation. That's not wearing a mask. That's just, how am I going to package it so that I could put food on the table and, you know, pay the bills and have some savings. But at the end of the day, it's all the same stuff. It really is.
Yeah, I'm very anti-retirement. Because I think too many people get the idea that you retire and then you get to do what you want to do. And the problem is,
you practice.
Say it again.
You get what you practice. You practice deferring joy. You're going to have a life of deferring joy.
Bro, that's so defined. Wow. I think that right there is such a defining thing. So many people like, well, I'll do that when I retire. I'll travel when I retire. I'll spend more time with my family when I retire. And when they retire, they die because the work becomes their life.
Yeah, their identity was their work.
Wow, dude. That's a big one. Right?
I mean, and this is why I love working with these leaders, because they've reached the top rung of the ladder. Like, they realize there's nowhere else to go. So that's kind of like what I realized in Breckenridge. It was like, I can't travel more. Like, that's not going to bring me joy. I can't quit another job. Like, I've done those things. And when you're running a company, or you're VP, or you're just high enough up where you're like, yeah, I know. I just know that next promotion is not going to be the thing. There's something else. There's an emptiness. There's a void. There's something I haven't tended to, which is not. It kind of comes down to the fact that we think that we're supposed to get success from life, and we're supposed to bring success to life. It's what you show up with. It's who you are. And then you go out in the world and you give instead of take. It's almost like flipping everything on its head in terms of what we're taught. But we're taught to be obedient factory workers. Come on, let's be serious.
Dude, don't even get me started on that, because I tell everyone to go read the book, Weapon of Mass Instruction.
What's it called? I'll read it.
Oh, dude, you think those meditation books change your life? Read the book Weapon of Mass Instruction. That gets into the fact of how our school systems are built. Most people don't realize that we actually work off of a Prussian system. And that
obedient factory workers.
Well, the Prussians actually invented it because their troops would run away in combat situations, and they needed a way to train them to understand, like, there's a value to you standing in this and staying here. You have to be willing to stay here. So they trained them and taught them in schools through a process that we still use for our education system. All of our lives we're told, oh no, we work off of an agro society education system. That's why we have summers off. That's why we have these other things. No, we work off of a Prussian system that's designed to train people to stay obedient to a process and to stay within the process. That's why, it really hurts people's heads when they're like, oh, but Weapon of Mass Instruction, the guy was a New York State Teacher of the Year and wrote this book. And dude, he's got a couple other ones, will literally make you like, if you are like, I don't care what side of the fence you're on. I can talk my own politics. This is my show. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. But if you read that book and don't sit there and go, yeah, our education department sucks straight ass and we need to fix this, then you just don't care about kids. I'm going to say that
Yeah.
now. You don't love the children. So, but I mean, sidebar to that, but to get back into something, the other side to this is we all still have to make money. Now, not everybody is like yourself. And Mike, I love the fact that you were like, you know what? Cool. I'll pull chalks. I'll go do these other things. Sometimes people need to stay at least working, but still find that joy. How do you help people to figure that out? Like, hey, yeah, you can stay within your job. It's paying you. You're knowledgeable in this field. You have that. But how do you teach them to also find the joy in life or bring those other things in?
Yeah, I don't teach people to quit. Like that's not what I do. If, some of them do, but that's because it's just so obvious that that's the path of least resistance. Like it's not a scary thing. It's something that they have to do. Most don't quit. They just start enjoying their lives. So it really comes down to, I'll say it again, just because sometimes I have to sound like a broken record. Meditation is fundamental. Like you have to bring some sort of break from the noise of reality into your life. That's the first step. From there, you bring appreciation. And you've already mentioned this. Like that's a big part of your life and your practices. What you appreciate appreciates. So when you start being more appreciative in life, then you notice that, wow, life's really good. And I do have a lot to appreciate. Next is really just getting clear on what you want. So often we think, oh, well, if I just could sip drinks on a beach in the Caribbean, life's going to be great. But you don't really think that through. Or if I just had $1 million, or if I just won the lottery. But if you go deeper and deeper into it, you might just be working a little too much. You might just have no idea how to say no or how to set boundaries. You might not be leaning on your team. You might not be delegating things that you can. There's all these practical ways to gain back time in your life and start doing more things to bring you joy. And you have to do things to bring you joy first. Again, it's like their whole retirement thing. It's like, if I'm going to be happy when, you're never going to be happy. Happiness does not exist tomorrow. You can only feel joy right now. And that's the way to how we spend our days is how we spend our life. So if you start bringing more joy into each and every day of life, whatever that means to you, it could be a walk, it could be a bike ride, play some sports, play an instrument, hang out with your kids, play with your dog. It goes on and on and on, but you have to bring joy into your life. I always tell everyone, if you want to live an abundant life, and who doesn't, you have to know what the word abundance means. The etymology of the word abundance means overflow. So in order to live a life where you're giving from a place of overflow, and most stressed out people, and especially high impact leaders, are giving from a place of emptiness and depletion and lack because they haven't taken care of themselves. They have no self-care practices or rituals. They don't even know how to bring joy into their life. They're always people pleasing. They're doing everything for everyone else. Then they're not living an abundant life and they have nothing to really give. So everyone wants to be more generous and wants to give to others. But to do that, you have to fill your own cup first. And it's just, again, so much of what I talk about is the exact opposite of what we're taught. You have to do the things that bring you joy now, today. That's why I was at the beach all afternoon. I did some work this morning, and then it's like, okay, I'm going to go have fun with my dog. I'm going to get on this podcast tonight. It's going to be great. It's not about, I'm going to have fun at the end of the day. I'm going to have fun at the end of the week. I'm going to have fun on my next vacation. Life has to be enjoyable, and it's actually supposed to be.
I love it. You're hitting the nail on the head with all this. And look, folks, we got to do our it's the New Scotland Spirits last call, but we're going to keep going here with Mike here in a minute. But if you're looking for a spirit that is as bold and rich as New York history, New Scotland Spirits is crafting exceptional locally sourced whiskey that tells a story with every sip. From grain to glass, we honor tradition while pushing the boundaries of flavor. Whether you're a whiskey connoisseur or just getting started, there's a bottle waiting for you. Raise your glass to true craftsmanship. Find New Scotland Spirits near you, or visit newscotlandspirits.com to learn more. New Scotland Spirits, where whiskey and history and flavor meet. Brother, you're absolutely amazing. Now, let's get into, and again, folks, if you want to know what Mike's got going on, it's self-hospitality.com. You can get his extremely expensive mastery class for a whopping nothing. It's $0. It's a lot of money. I know most of you can't afford $0, but if you call me and ask, I will give you $0 so you can take Mike's class and get something out of it. But you just have to ask me very politely if you can have $0, and I will give it to you. Now, I got to ask this question real quick, Mike, as I'm looking at all your stuff. We're going to bounce into this for a second, and I'm curious how this works with your joy. And you know where I'm going right now. You already know. You're prepared. You've manifested already what I'm going to ask, because I know what one word means, but I don't know what this word means. 15 years of marriage, 6 years of polyamory.
Polyamory.
Okay, that's how you pronounce it. I know the word polyamorous.
Yeah.
So I'll let you explain. I know what it means, but I don't know if everybody else does. I know what it means. You want to explain it?
Yeah, of course. So 6 years ago, my wife and I decided to open up our relationship. So we have an open relationship, but specifically it's a polyamorous relationship. And what that means, if you break down the word polyamory, more than one love.
Okay.
Like it's the belief. That's all it is. It's a belief that as human beings, we could love more than one person. And the way I describe it is like, if you have more than one child, or if you have more than one pet, do they each get, let's say you have 2 dogs. Do they get 50% of your heart each? Or is love unlimited, boundless? It's not a pie chart that we split up.
Right. Fair enough. Nate says never know what to ask.
So it's just a belief that you could look at your closest, most intimate relationships the same way. And for me, as someone who is all about unwinding from the grind and escaping from the matrix, just kind of, I go deep into free thinking and realizing how much we've been programmed. I've gone deep into marriage and the origins of marriage, and nothing against marriage. I'm married,
right.
But it's like the fact that we start this symbol of love and unconditional, joy with one another by signing a contract feels a little funny to me. It's like, I'll love you as long as you do all of these things.
Right.
Which at a certain point, relationships are transactional. They are tit for tat. I'll do this, you do that. I'll drive the kids to school, you pick them up. But that's not what love is. Love is boundless and uncontrollable. So I just, again, thanks to my wife being a catalyst here, she actually brought this up when I was a prick, when she was willing to risk the relationship. And she told me honestly, like, I've always felt this way. I would love to at least see if we could explore it. It's not an ultimatum. My initial reaction, fuck no. Those were my words.
That was going to be my question. So she brought this up. Like, yeah. My question was going to be like, as a dude, how do you bring that up to your wife and be like, so Jill that works at the coffee counter, like, how do you bring that? So she brought it up, and I've always heard, like, listen, man, let the lady bring it up if it's going to get brought up. Other than that, just shut up and watch football.
Well, she brought it up and I said, fuck no. And luckily at that time I had been meditating for a year. So I was able to actually sit and look like from a different perspective and just say, okay, what's happening here? One, my wife's being honest with me. She's telling me something she's always felt, and she finally had the courage to say it because I've been an asshole and she was willing to risk it. So I need to honor that she's telling me something that she feels. I can't say, no, you don't feel that way. But then I looked at it. I have 2 paths. One, I could say no. And that path was full of all of these negative emotions: jealousy, inferiority, possessiveness, attachment. And the other path was boundless, unconditional love. Because we don't have rules. We can have one night stands. We could have hookups and things like that. But really what this is about is just living in a way that feels aligned with who we are. And for me, it's been a process over many years of, she's had boyfriends, she's had significant relationships, and I've had to kind of go through my own processes of coming to terms with that, and even like becoming friends with them.
Dude, that's tough. Like,
well, it's tough if you don't believe, like, I believe that everyone deserves to be free, and you shouldn't be able to tell anyone how to live or who to love, including your own spouse or your own partner. I know it sounds crazy, but I just believe that we're meant to be free and not be bounded or restricted in any way. Now, we don't have kids. I know that adds an element to it, but I also know polyamorous people who do have kids. So for me, something that changed was I kind of, I ended up telling my whole family, and I told my mom, and my mom was very upset, and she was kind of blaming this on my wife. And I said, Mom, you know what? If Elisa and I ever get divorced, which it happens to many monogamous couples, like
yes,
it happens
it's
all the
very
time.
common.
So
my third marriage. So yes,
it could happen with monogamous or non-monogamous relationships. So if we break up, I'm still a polyamorous man. I just believe in it. I could be single and be polyamorous. I could be dating and be polyamorous. I could be married and be polyamorous. It's just a belief that I don't want someone telling me how to live my life.
It's your own individual. Now, I heard you say she's had these things. As you've had these relationships also?
I'd say when we first opened up our relationship, I went from being 38 to being 22 on spring break again. I even went on a solo trip to Sayulita, Mexico, which was literally like spring break. And I realized that ship has sailed. That brought me no joy.
My Aunt Eileen. That's my aunt out in Montana.
Awesome. It brought me very little joy, maybe a little pleasure, but not what I was looking for. So no, I haven't had a serious other relationship. I'm very open to it, but I've also really interesting is that what I gained from us opening our relationship was time. We were together for so long, and when we traveled the world and we lived in a car in Australia and New Zealand, we were on top of each other. We became very codependent. We did everything together. So when we opened up our relationship, all of a sudden I had 2, 3, 4 days a week to myself sometimes. And that's when I found out who the fuck I was. Like, it was literally like, oh, I could do whatever I want. I could eat wherever I want. I could read books. I could watch whatever I want to watch. And at 38, it was like, cool, you're actually figuring out who you are and what you like and what brings you joy. And that really helped me become a coach, to be honest, to really go deeper into personal development and mindfulness and spirituality. Not because I was like, oh, she has a boyfriend, I got to go get a girlfriend. It was like, oh,
it wasn't a tit for tat kind of thing.
No, I mean, at first, from a place of insecurity, it was. And then it was like, I'm going to do what feels right for me, which is enjoy time. And it changed my life. It really did.
I mean, it's absolutely fascinating. And your approach to it is very unique, because I think, like you said, at 38, you became 22. And like I said, you already look like, do you have your phone on you right now?
Yeah.
Go look up Rob Van Dam. If your wife doesn't think you look like Rob Van Dam to me, to her also, I'd be absolutely surprised. You look like the pro wrestler. If Nate was out there, he'd say the same thing.
He looks like Jean-Claude Van Damme a little bit.
Well, that's where he gets his name from. He's a pro wrestler, Rob Van Dam. He's kind of playing off of that. He does all the jumping around and all that. RVD. His move is RVD. But I mean, it's absolutely fascinating to me that the way that you've approached this and the time side to it. With your, I mean, and I'm just curious of this, even in your coaching process, have you ever had to kind of reach out to somebody when you were coaching them and just heard some languages in it and been like, well, why don't you guys just become polyamorous? You love each other, you care about each other, you're in this, but maybe you need to learn and experience other people outside. Because I'm going to tell you right now, that takes a level of confidence, brother. I'm going to tell you right now, that I hear from you that you had to learn to be that confident in yourself, that it wasn't an instant like, well, listen, baby, I got this. Like there's a level of confidence in that. I mean, have you ever had to suggest that to somebody?
I mean, I always make suggestions if it feels right. A lot of times I think people are attracted to me as a coach just because of my philosophies too. And they might be going through some issues with their significant other, whether they're not maybe on the same kind of path, or they're not into the same things, or they're not very mindful, spiritual people. And I always tell everyone the same thing, which is you have to really love yourself first. So stop trying to change anyone else and focus on the things that are going to bring you joy and make you a happy person. That being said, I always share my own story. And I just say, if you took away all the programming, if you took away your religious beliefs, what your parents told you was right or wrong, what society told you was right or wrong, how do you make decisions based on what's inside here in your solar plexus, in your heart, in your gut? Then I'm helping them make decisions. I'm not making the decision for them. I'm helping them make decisions from a place of peace and confidence within themselves, not from what are other people going to say about me? What are my parents going to say? What are all these people going to gossip about? Who cares? Live your life. That's really what it comes down to.
Dude, that's amazing. And I'm going to go back to self-hospitality for a second. Somebody signs up. When's the next class? When's the next time somebody can see you or have their own one-on-one chat with you?
So that's if they sign up, they get immediate access to the workshop. And then I am building a membership community now.
What's a membership community? What is that?
So I'm going to be building, it's being built right now, a community for hospitality leaders who either aren't ready for one-on-one coaching or they can't afford one-on-one coaching, but it's a way for me to help provide inspiration to them every day. So I'm going to be sending out audio, just different guided meditations, practical exercises, gratitude practices, inspirational stories for people who want to be more on this path of just being more mindful, being more present, feeling more happiness and joy in their life. So it's a community for people who are craving that, who feel burnt out, who don't have enough time in their life and don't really know what to do about it. And that's also going to include access to me every month in kind of like a Q&A format. But for now, for anyone who wants to reach out, this is what I love to talk about. I'm never going to try to sell someone on coaching. It's just a conversation. And then if that's a fit, then we'll get on a phone call. So anyone could reach out and find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. It's just my name, Mike Messeroff.
And folks, Messeroff is Messeroff. If you're looking for him, Mike is very accessible on all those things. So any other upcoming events? I know you like guest speaking things where if somebody wanted to like fly to Costa Rica, they could find you. My son and I want to go there. He's a big fisherman and I enjoy to fish. We want to go catch the the parrot bass down there. Have you ever seen one of those things?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I want to catch one. So, but anything coming up for you that somebody could reach out to you?
No, I mean, I do private speaking engagements and things like that. And I am really excited to do more public workshops. I don't have anything scheduled at the moment. The best way is just follow me on social media. That's where I'm going to keep everything updated. And if you sign up for self-hospitality, then you'll be on my email list and I'll keep you updated of all the events and things like that.
All right. Well, let's talk about getting ready to close up the bar completely here, folks. Let's see who we got next week. Is that right? That can't be. So next week we got a gentleman by the name of Gary. Gary's last name is Arndt, which is pretty awesome to me because one of my good friends is Troy Arndt. But
is he a photographer?
No, he is the host of Everything Everywhere Daily Podcast.
Yes, I know Gary.
Do you know Gary?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's also a photographer because he has like amazing travel photography.
Okay.
But he was an inspiration to me and my wife when we started traveling in 2011. That's how long
Really?
Gary's been in the game.
Well, I'm going to say that you're probably right because because I always like to read everybody's little thing here. Podcast shares concise educational episodes that captivate a global audience of 1.6 million who love learning through his stories. His experience traveling over 200 countries, offering engaging narratives about history, science, and more. Gary's insight will resonate there. Gary's insight will resonate with many people from a holistic approach to life. So we're gonna have that. Must be your man.
He's great.
I'm looking forward. He's gonna be on next week. We're gonna be talking to him. Nate would have been here, so I know he was on for a second. Hopefully he sticks around. So I'm gonna ask Nate's question, and then we're gonna go in to the most important question here. So Nate, I know what he would ask you. So I've never been to Costa Rica. I don't think I've ever had, and I like Peruvian food. That's probably about as far South America as I've ever had is Peruvian foods. That's pretty far south. What is the dish for you since you've gotten to Costa Rica where you're like, everybody in the world should try this dish? This is like a dish that I didn't know was going to be amazing. Don't say ceviche because we've all had ceviche.
The first thing I would say is seriously a cup of coffee. Like the coffee here is
really
amazing. I love drinking coffee here, but
what's different about it?
I don't know. It's just amazing. It's served with a smile. It's fresh. It's rich. It's just delicious. I would also say you got to try a casado. That's it means like a house plate, and almost any restaurant you go will have their version, but it's usually rice and beans and fried plantains, a little salad, and maybe either like fish or some kind of beef or chicken. And it's always good.
See, I'm loving the sound of it already. Now, look, Mike, I know you probably binged all 270 some episodes. You've really fully, while meditating, listened to all of them. So you were fully prepared for this. But just in case you forgot, and don't log off afterwards, we got to talk for a minute after the show. The guest always gets the final word in every episode. So what's our final word tonight?
One word?
Whatever it is for you. One word, one statement, whatever it is.
Okay,
Final word.
Depression is good.
Alrighty, folks. Be sure to push your stool in. This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.